Recently we produced a little film showing the varieties of Michelia which can be bought from Burncoose nurseries and which are growing here at Caerhays. Today I thought we'd just cast our eye over a number of other Michelias, most of which are not yet available for sale through the nursery, but soon they will be. And this is a first time flowering of Michelia ernestii, or since we're now supposed to call all Michelias magnolias, we better call this Magnolia ernestii. But I've failed to see why we should always concur with what the Chinese want us to do, so it's still a Michelia in my book. This is the first time it's ever flowered. The flowers have this lovely yellow colour. For a first time flowering, it's absolutely covered in flowers, and some of them are really quite spectacular as they open and have a beautiful centre to them. Standing here, there's a wonderful scent, and this is an unusual species, little known species. We think it'll propagate relatively easily. It used to be called Michelia wilsoni, but when the Chinese started changing the names, there was already, of course, a Magnolia wilsoni, and so you can't have two plants with the same name. So the Chinese have now decided this should be called Magnolia or Michelia ernestii. So this is another species of Michelia. This is clearly going to grow into a big tree. And today this is called Michelia laevifolia. And although I said that this wasn't for sale from Burncoose, this one actually is for sale. It's been around for a little time. But originally, when it was introduced in the 1980s to the UK, it came under the name of Michelia crassipes. And then it was called Michelia unionensis. And today we're required to call it Michelia laevifolia or Magnolia laevifolia. It has the large numbers of these very pretty sort of creamy flowers with a slight touch of yellow. They don't all come out at once, and there are a multitude of them. As you can see here, some are already over and some are still in tight bud. The flowers hang down at times rather than point at you, but again the scent is quite breathtaking standing here. This is a rather better known species than the one we looked at a moment ago, and now let's just go and look at an improved form of Magnolia laevifolia. And this is Michelia laevifolia, or Magnolia if you prefer, Michelia laevifolia Summer Snowflake. And you see here we've got very much bigger flowers than in the true species. So this is a variety or a form that's been selected and given a name because it's a particularly good form of this Magnolia. And it's again absolutely plastered in flowers, and the flowers hold themselves rather more nicely on the bush so that you can actually see them rather than bending over and looking downwards. Again, they aren't all out at once, but a tremendous show on a very small plant that's only been in the ground perhaps less than 10 years, perhaps nearer 8 years. Summer Snowflake is a wonderful form of Magnolia laevifolia. There's another one called Gale's Favourite, which is more yellow than this, but a large flower as well. But that isn't quite out yet. And this is a big tree, and this is called Michelia allspice, and you can guess from the name that this is one of the most pungent and fragrant of all Michelias. As you can see, the orange indumentum on the buds is just as attractive as the flower itself. This is a good strong evergreen tree which is already probably 30 feet in height after about a similar number of years. Normally this would be out in May, but in this early season we're having this year, it's out a bit earlier. This is a hybrid between Michelia doltsopa and Michelia foggii, and there are again quite a few different hybrids that have got different names, but this one is certainly a must-have. We've struggled to try and propagate it from cuttings. I think we need to take the cuttings earlier in the year rather than in the autumn, which has been our mistake up to now. So this is a Michelia we can't get very close to, and it's flowering more this year than we've seen for at least a decade. It's a tree that was collected in the wild by George Forrest in the 1920s, and so it's exactly 100 years old. And this is Michelia floribunda, which has yellowish flowers. They're more yellow in bud and they've faded a bit, but you can see how the tree is absolutely plastered in flower. We can smell it on the wind, but it's a little bit too far and too high up for us to smell it from here. We hope that flowering like this means that it'll set lots of seed, which we can collect in the autumn, because we haven't been able to collect anything from it for a while. And just look at the size of the trunk of this tree. It's a truly gigantic multi-stem tree. And this is Michelia cavaleriei var platypetala, which was given to us by a friend from Belgium. And what's so extraordinary about it is that it's flowering at a very, very young age. The flowers are nearly over, and this is a relatively new introduction into the UK. And we've never actually seen this in flower before. And although the flowers are a bit tarnished now, this is going to grow into a huge tree and be really quite something as an addition to our collection of Michelias here. So I'm standing under yet another Michelia. This one's Michelia maudiae. Unfortunately, the flowers are so far up in the top of this plant that I can't actually give you a decent picture of it. Unlike most of the others, we do have a few plants of this available at Burncoose, and you may think, looking at this tree, that the leaves look a bit sickly and yellow, but of course it's an evergreen and it's about to drop its leaves now that it's finishing flowering, and the new growth will come, and that's what evergreens like Michelias do. So there's nothing to worry about looking at a few yellow leaves. The flowers are yellow, but apologies, you can't really see them. Anyway, that's given you an update on, over the two little videos, about 10 or so of the different Michelias which we're growing here at Caerhays. That's only a sample. There's many more, but that's all that's out in this Easter week. Thank you.